whether they're a mom or not, this applies to women, but specifically moms, is that they're put themselves in the back burner. We normalize all this stuff that shouldn't be normalized. We just push through because we have to as humans, but specifically women in our modern hustle culture, burnout culture world, right?
Welcome back. Today I'm joined by Dr. Will Cole, one of the top functional medicine doctors in the country, and is the person that people turn to when they feel terrible, but keep getting told everything looks normal. If your body feels off in ways you can't explain, the low energy, the brain fog, the weird symptoms, the gut issues that seem to come out of nowhere, this conversation is going to feel like someone is finally speaking your language. Dr. Cole and I get into the real reasons so many women hit a wall in midlife, even when their basic labs come back fine. He breaks down the difference between normal and optimal ranges and why most women aren't getting the full picture, and which markers actually tell the truth about your energy and your inflammation and whether your body is stuck in survival mode. We talk about our thyroids and ferritin and why low iron stores fly under the radar for years, the gut problems that suddenly show up even though you're eating the same foods you always have, and what has changed in our life, our stress, and our environment that make these symptoms so common now. We dig into the physical signs that your nervous system's overloaded, the supplements that he would pick for women in midlife, and the simple changes he would make just to help you feel better, think clearer, and get your spark back. If you've ever walked out of a doctor's office thinking, I'm glad my labs are normal, but I still feel like hot garbage, this episode is going to give you the clarity that you've been missing and a plan that actually makes sense. Now, before we dive into the conversation, I want to tell you, let's be honest, most Christmas gifts get forgotten by February, but the ones that last, they mean something. That's why I became the co-owner and CEO of Little Things Studio. That was fall in 2023. I had been working with Kate as a coaching client for years, and I was lucky enough to come on as co-owner. Now, I love the product so much. The artwork is amazing. We have a warehouse here in Nashville. Everything's local. We design meaningful gifts inspired by hymns and scripture like Great is Thy Faithfulness, Be Thou My Vision, and It Is Well, and the newer classic In Christ Alone. Just imagine giving someone their favorite hymn, beautifully printed on a full color tea towel or art print. It's not just a gift. It's a reminder of who God is, hanging right there in their kitchen or living room. We have our blessing tea towel. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. And I love it so much. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look with favor on you and give you peace. Amen. We have a great hymn calendar. They sell out every year. If you want a 2026 calendar, you want to get this one. One of the best things about our hymn calendar is after you use it each month, you can cut the page off and it becomes a free 8x10 print. It's stunning. We have our big 40% off sale right now for Christmas season. So go to Little Things Studio and shop while you still can. Again, it's Little Things Studio. Check it out. Send me a message. Let me know what you think. I'm so proud of this company that I get to steward. It means so much. And I'm having a blast. Okay, let's dive into my conversation with my new friend, Dr. Will Cole. Dr. Will Cole, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
I am a huge fan of your podcast. Your episodes that I love most are the Ask Me Anything episodes. So if it's okay with you, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to ask you anything episode.
I'm nervous.
This is so fun for me because this is just selfishly me getting to ask you all the questions that I want answers to. So this is so fun. And I get to introduce all my friends to you. So I want to start with this one. I can't even tell you how many women I've heard from who say, I got a physical, I got my lab work, nothing seems wrong, but I feel terrible, especially women in midlife. They're just exhausted. What's going on?
I have a heart for people going through this. There's so much medical gaslighting happening systemically, unintentionally for the most part, right? But they're just falling through the cracks of conventional medicine. And there's a lot of personal gaslighting because you start to doubt yourself. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I am just depressed. So let's break it down. This is a massive issue and something I've been talking about for the past 16 years professionally. So for background, I started the first functional medicine telehealth clinic. So I have a very unique perspective over the past 16 years, having talked to thousands and thousands of people, mostly women, around the world. but mainly around the United States. Like, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are asked that question or have gone through that and lived that. So the first thing is we have to break down the differences between the paradigms of functional medicine and mainstream medicine. The first thing is, let maybe define this, is that the first thing is, I would say we're looking at the labs that are done conventionally a bit differently. So anybody that knows that's listening this or watching this will know, hey, when I get my lab, there's my number and then there's this reference range, just X to Y bracket of numbers that I'm being compared to. And if it's outside of that range, it's high or low. It's a bold font typically, and there's maybe a discussion. Where do we get that reference range? It's a statistical bell curve average of people who go to that lab. Who are the people that typically go to labs? They're people, sadly, that are going through some health stuff. So there's a lot of people, especially women, that know intuitively something is off. My brain fog, my fatigue, my weight loss resistance, my hormonal symptoms, my digestive symptoms, whatever it is, my anxiety, my depression. They go to the doctor, and the doctor does what they're trained to do. They're looking at that reference range and they're saying everything's pretty much fine. You're just depressed. Here's an antidepressant. You're just getting older. You're just a new mom. You're just stressed. All these well-intentioned maybe reasons. But what they're unintentionally telling you is you're a lot like the other people with health problems that we are comparing you to. Just because something's common doesn't necessarily make it normal. And comparing yourself to people that aren't feeling their best is no way for you to find out why you feel the way that you do. So in functional medicine, we're looking at optimal, not average. Where does vibrant wellness reside? Where does God want us to be from a thriving standpoint? Which is it's the functional range. That's where we get our name, functional medicine. It's looking at optimal, not average, the functional range. And the second thing we do is we run more comprehensive labs. So we're looking at underlying gut problems, hormonal imbalances more comprehensively. We are looking at environmental toxins, both natural, like bacteria, virus, mold, biotoxins, and herbicides, pesticides, heavy metals, these type of things. They're not typically ran in the standard model conventional medicine standpoint because they are trained to diagnose a disease and match it with a medication. So it's superfluous from that model standpoint, which many people are served in that mainstream model. I'm not demonizing it or making broad sweeping statements. I'm just saying that a lot of people do fall through the cracks that are experiencing what you just said, that are like, I know something's up, but I don't know. Well, they're not looking at these root causes. Science is looking at these root causes, but it hasn't trickled down to somebody's PCP, GP, endocrinologist, rheumatologist, gastroenterologist. It's just not there, with a few exceptions. And the third thing is we're all created differently. It's bioindividuality. So you could have what works for one person, even if it's a healthy thing, may not be loving your body back right now. So there's a science and art to this. Those are the main reasons why things are missed. It's this cookie cutter, it's basic labs, and the interpretation of the labs that are already done are missing the spectrum between health and health problems. So I know and these are complex issues, but that's sort of the overview.
Well, it makes perfect sense. In my life, I've been through it. So I had terrible rosacea for years, and I was prescribed prescription creams, which made it worse. And then I realized it was a histamine issue. So I started taking quercetin and then taking a DAO enzyme when I eat, or DAO supplement, and it's gone. But years and years and years of going to the doctor, and really it was just a histamine reaction, and nobody caught it. I mean, it's amazing because, I don't fault primary care physicians for you can't stay up on everything if you're seeing 60 patients in a day in 10 minutes each time.
Right. Right. It's the system. That's why this isn't an indictment on any doctor. It's just a system issue. The system's centered around profit, not people. The system's centered around disease management, not health. The system's set up around this. So it's a paradigm shift, and things are changing. Like, I am hopeful. There's mainstream institutions like the Cleveland Clinic. They have a functional medicine center. There's many mainstream massive institutions around that are mainstream conventional around the nation that have integrative and functional medicine clinics. So there are pockets of really, I think, hope within the system. But people like myself outside of that system, we've been doing it for a long time. I'm just happy that things are finally changing. But we cannot wait for nation states, the insurance industry, big pharma, big food to start to shift. Like, what can we do now as individuals to start taking agency, having agency on our health and taking responsibility for what is ultimately our birthright, our health and our family's health. So that's our mission.
Yeah, yes and amen to that. Okay, if a patient came to your telehealth clinic and said, I just want to get my energy back, where would you start?
So, two thoughts. One is there's the diagnostic answer, and then there's the sub-diagnostic answer, or independent of labs. The diagnostic answer is pinpointing exactly what is going on. So things like fatigue and any other symptom, this could be applied to, but symptoms are like these proverbial check engine lights. You know, the check engine light's on, but why? It could be low thyroid for one person. It could be low iron for the next person. It could be low testosterone for the next person. It could be an underlying gut problem or an autoimmune problem for a next person. It could be a biotoxin for the next person. So the recommendation is going to be different depending on what we find on health history, first and foremost, and then labs. Now, people can have a confluence, like a perfect storm of many things, right? It's multifactorial for some people, and then that would have to be appropriately addressed as well. So the vein of thought here for anybody is just getting appropriate labs for your health history. So looking at nutrients, looking at hormones, looking at inflammation levels, looking at underlying gut problems and nervous system health. That would be my first and foremost, because then we know we'll shed light on the mechanisms there. We'll shed light on your pieces of your health puzzle. And we run labs for people around the world. The second thing is, let's just say someone doesn't want to run labs, that's not where they're at, or they don't have access to it for whatever reason. Then I would say, let's go over some of the top things, which I mentioned it. But for women, I would want to look at iron levels first and foremost. And then maybe you could open it up to other nutrient deficiencies. But iron, I would put top of my list of things that I see missed, specifically a biomarker of stored iron called ferritin. Ferritin, we want it to be at least 80 for women from a hormone health and mitochondria, like energy, cellular energy production standpoint. Many women have low ferritin levels. But beyond ferritin, I want a whole iron panel. Iron saturation, total iron binding capacity, hemoglobin, hematocrit, and what's called the MC series. It's basically red blood cell measurements. So iron would confirm what I'm saying. And here's the deal. If you don't run labs, I wouldn't recommend dosing and supplementing with iron really high. But you want to get it from foods. Increased nutrient-dense foods that have things like iron and other nutrients in it, right? So things like grass-fed beef, good clean fish, the third-party tested fish, could be wild caught or farm raised as long as it's clean.
Can I jump in and ask a quick follow-up question? Because I'm so fascinated. Say a woman's iron is all within normal, healthy, good ranges, but she
Yeah.
has low ferritin. What does she do then?
That's something we see where it's like all iron is normal but ferritin. And you always want to put that in context, because I'll give you another little pattern that we can see on labs is all normal iron or even low iron and then really high ferritin.
Hmm.
If that happens, that's a sign of inflammation. That's not the only sign of inflammation, but it can be caught. Remember, all labs are snapshots in time. So it's depending when you get the lab. So it's nothing's like perfect. But these are like good clinical signs, pearls, from a lab standpoint. So to answer your question, if it's low ferritin, but normal iron, I would still want to be increasing iron levels, but you have to be judicious with supplementation. So not like microdosing iron in supplementation form, and really more than anything, getting it in food form. And then the bigger context is for any pattern of iron or any nutrient deficiencies, why is it there in the first place? Maybe it's an intake deficiency, maybe. Or maybe someone is already increasing nutrient dense foods and they are having good bioavailable heme iron that's in these foods, right? Then what's causing that? Is it, and the top cause for menstruating women is periods. Do they have a heavy period? Do they not? And then, not to like put fear in anybody, but for some people, lesser common than the period depletion standpoint, is microbleeds in the intestinal lining, where it's like a slow loss of blood from unhealthy gut issues, inflammatory gut.
Oh, from leaky gut? That can cause that?
It's implicated in it, but it's just poor like gastrointestinal inflammation, IBS, certainly part of that. Colitis can be part of that for people, just maybe undiagnosed chronic constipation that is caused by things like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. There's just a wear and tear on the gut lining, and there's some loss of blood there. And then if you did a colonoscopy or on a blood stool test, you would catch small amounts of blood, just small amounts. So those are two potential causes of it. So iron, I would put on the top of the list of someone to consider just supporting healthy levels appropriately. Other nutrient deficiencies you want to look at from an energy production standpoint. Anybody going through fatigue would be magnesium. We would run what's called a magnesium RBC test, looking at the magnesium in the cells, in the red blood cells. Vitamin D, we want at least 60 to 80. Most people are deficient in that. Your brain is rich with vitamin D receptor sites, so optimizing that. Not running labs, but let's just say assuming methylation is not optimal for a lot of people, and you don't necessarily need a lab to run this, but the lab would be homocysteine. It's an inflammatory marker that can impact brain health and neuroinflammation, which is associated with brain fog and fatigue. And anyway, so things like methylfolate, methylcobalamin, or methyl B12, peroxidine, TMG would be other ones. Like a methylated B vitamin complex is what I would say. So it's the cliche of B vitamins for energy. Why is that? It's because it's enhancing methylation, which you need for energy production. So that's nutrient deficiencies that I would, then some other thing. It's just, it starts with food. You know this, but for anybody that's out there, sometimes it's not the supplement. Sometimes it's not the next biohack thing you saw. Sometimes it's just really harnessing in to nutrient density with food. Where's your protein? Like the minimum 100 grams of protein a day. You need that from an energy production standpoint. Where's your healthy fats? Don't fear healthy fats. So things like avocados, olives, olive oil, healthy fatty fish, grass-fed beef, and then carbs, healthy fiber-rich carbohydrates. Don't fear fruits. I mean, nobody became diabetic from fruit. So if your diet's making you fear fruits, get a new way of eating, because there's obviously appropriately so. Some people that are insulin resistant maybe should limit it for a time while they heal their insulin resistance, but God made fruit. So we shouldn't be fearing these whole foods. Look, then the person's like, okay, humanity has crossbred fruits to make them sweeter. That is true. But at the end of the day, I have not seen like raspberries being implicated in people's like fatigue issues. So don't fear fruits within normal reason. So those are some initial thoughts. There's a lot of cool peptides and other things we could talk about from an energy production standpoint. But if I didn't have labs, so those are some things I'd be focusing on.
Okay, that's brilliant. You see why I wanted you to come on the show, so I could just ask you anything. This is so fun. Another thing that I hear from almost everyone is, why do we all have gut issues in midlife? What's going on?
So in short, it's when humankind pretends to be God, there's unintended consequences that happen. So our genetics haven't changed in thousands of years, but yet our world has changed dramatically in such a finite period of time. So when you're putting that in context with human history and the microbiome, which we lived with for thousands of years, it's all the trillions of bacteria in our gut. And to put that into perspective for everybody, we have upwards of 100 trillion bacteria, depending on the study that you cite. 100 trillion bacteria in our gut. We have 30 trillion human cells. So we're all exponentially more bacteria than human.
That's
And it's
crazy.
not us. It's something alien to us. It's something that we are symbiotically connected to, but I think we need it more than it needs us. It's 75% of our immune system. Inflammation is a product of the immune system. It impacts hormone conversion. 20% of your thyroid hormone is converted in your gut. It is more 95% of serotonin, your happy neurotransmitter, is made and stored in the gut. 50% of dopamine, your pleasure neurotransmitter, is made and stored in the gut. It crosstalks. It communicates the bacterial microbiome metropolis, this gut garden of bacteria, tell your brain how to function. It influences mood and hormones and metabolism and all that stuff, right? So why do we have this epidemic rise of gut problems? It's what researchers call an epigenetic genetic mismatch. Basically, our body and the microbiome is living in a brave new world. In just a few generations, you look at even our great grandparents, they would not recognize our world today. It is a completely new thing. So it's not just one thing, but it's the foods we're eating or not eating. It's soil depletion and like larger environmental conversations. Our gut microbiomes inextricably linked to the soil microbiome and the foods we eat and how the food is grown and all of that. And it's environmental toxins, it's chronic stress, it's unresolved trauma. There's definitely, this is deeply a spirit. All of these things are deeply spiritual as well. And what we've done as a society. And these genetic predispositions are being triggered like never before in human history because of this mismatch, this chasm between genetics and epigenetics, or our DNA and the world around us. So the gut's at the sort of tipping point, the pivotal like epicenter of this whole mismatch. And we see even healthy foods that are completely nutrient dense whole foods not love some people back. If people are having bloating from salads, it's not the salad's fault. It's the gut has lost such resilience that we can't even digest and absorb whole foods. So this is part of my job. A big part of my job is building resilience back. The body is amazingly resilient when you give it the chance to be so. It takes time, but that's why we're seeing these skyrocketing rise of gut issues. It's even like I appreciate the normalizing on social media, but it's even made into a joke sometimes. They call it hot girl tummy issues. If you heard of this on social
I
media,
have.
I didn't coin it, so don't come at me. I didn't say it.
So funny. It's so true.
But so many girls are like, okay, I love it because it's like the stigma around talking about going number two,
Yeah.
going away. But it's like at the end of the day, these girls are struggling. It's not actually that funny, but they try to make light of a difficult situation.
Yeah, for me, I've been on a journey to heal my gut. I worked with a coach and we did a GI map, and literally everything that was bad, I was full of. Everything that was good, I had none of. And I was on keto at the time, trying to fix my gut. And after 6 months, she said, "You got worse." And so that's when I knew I had to get off keto, because I wasn't getting the fiber, I wasn't getting, all of the foods that we should eat. So it's a journey. I interviewed Dr. Gundry recently, and he said basically it's minimum a year to fix your gut. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I would agree. It depends on where you're at on this inflammation spectrum. I mean, it's a spectrum. I mean, by the time somebody's diagnosed with a health issue, it could be metabolic, hormonal, autoimmune problem, whatever we're talking about. It's about 4 to 10 years prior to that diagnosis that things kind of brew for most people on this inflammation spectrum between health and health problems. So it doesn't happen overnight. Now, you could be mild, and it may take a few weeks to months, and you notice significant changes in how you feel, your digestion, your labs are improving, all this amazing stuff. But I agree with Dr. Gundry, I've known him for a long time, is that if the more progressed autoimmune conditions, it's going to take 1 to 2 years. I'll even kind of go above that. Now, that's not to say they're waiting that long to feel better. That's just saying, all right, for the average person that's diagnosed with an autoimmune problem or a digestive problem, or been going through something for a lot of years, right? Symptomatic, diagnosed, or undiagnosed. A good success rate that I would say for our telehealth patients is every 1 to 2 months, we should be able to look back and say, yeah, I'm better than the previous 1 to 2 months. Every chunk of time of like 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 months, we should be able to look back and see decreased severity and frequency. But knowing what has taken years to get to where it's at now is going to take some time to build resilience over time. So yeah, with chunks of time, we retest when appropriately, all of that stuff. But yeah, it's 1 to 2 years for someone that's more further down that inflammation continuum.
Yeah, and I think it was 9 years ago, I was put on a PPI for reflux. And my health coach said, "You don't need it." And I went, "You are crazy. You're one of these crazy people saying I don't have enough stomach acid." So I was taking Dexalent, 60 milligrams, which is crazy high, crazy extreme. And my stomach still hurt. And I think it took, 4 months that I was cutting it down. Like I would finally got to like one pill, and I was dividing it up into little mini capsules to take. And I've never felt so good once I quit taking it. And it was all gut issues. It was never reflux. But again, the answer to everyone is, let's put you on a PPI.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And I went to my doctor, I think I was a year into taking a PPI, and I said, "I read recently that taking PPIs give you," I remember this conversation, "a 35% increased chance of stomach cancer." And he goes, "Everybody is taking a PPI, and you don't see people dropping dead of stomach cancer every day. You're fine." And now I look back and go, oh, I wish I had known about functional medicine back then, so I wouldn't have wasted 8 years on a PPI.
Yeah, I know. And see, that's what they're trained. They're trained to just it's diagnose a disease and match it with a pharmaceutical. And ultimately, rarely does someone have health issues because of a pharmaceutical deficiency. They're not going to like PPI their way into health one day and be able to come off of it. They're going to, and that applies to statins and blood pressure and antidepressants. It's all that. Like there's a root reason. And I'm not saying I'm not being anti-medication. It's just, okay, maybe in the short term it's needed. And for many people, on all those examples that I mentioned, there's a time and place and context for all that stuff. And some people are alive because of medications. But it just so happens that oftentimes doesn't fit the criteria of what's the most effective option for me that causes me the least amount of side effects. That should be the litmus test. And yeah, PPIs, short term, I can see someone has to have relief and sleep and function in life. No shame on you whatsoever. But is that really the long term goal? It's actually on the label, not supposed to be used for more than a few weeks, but yet it's given to people for in perpetuity. So it's not even how it's prescribed originally, but yet it's the only option many times for people that have acid reflux. The top cause of acid reflux is SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. The PPI is not doing anything for the SIBO. It's bacterial overgrowth, weeds overgrowing in this proverbial gut garden, growing into this large intestine, into the small intestine, causing things like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic constipation, or looser stools, or both, and acid reflux, GERD, heartburn. So yeah, but when you heal your gut and start pruning these weeds overgrowing in the gut garden and healing from the SIBO, which is, we can get into it, it's like multifaceted, but you don't have to be on PPIs for the rest of your life.
Well, I'll tell you, I learned the hard way. If you're on a PPI and you really love kombucha and you drink a lot of kombucha, you will give yourself SIBO. I really think that's how I got it because I
Yeah.
couldn't deal with that amount of bacteria all the time.
Yeah,
Now
right.
that's me guessing. So what say you?
Yeah, well, you are. What's going on there? You're decreasing hydrochloric acid. You're decreasing HCl, stomach acid, down with those medications. You need proper stomach pH to digest and absorb foods, and you need to regulate. It's sterilizing. It's sterilizing bacteria in the stomach. And one of the leading causes of acid reflux heartburn is it's H. pylori too is implicated in all of this. It's an opportunistic pathogenic bacteria for many, not all people. So you have to deal with those bacterial pathogens as well. Things like kombucha, they are great for people. I'm not saying, but I think that's a good point to what I said earlier. Even a health food, what works for one person may not be good for the next person. So it's can be an issue because it's still probiotic rich. Are you just kind of fueling more bacterial, or it can make a yeast and fungal issue? Even though these are generally beneficial yeast and funguses, you can overdo these probiotic rich foods, especially if you've not dealt with the larger context of why you had the problem. And back to something that you said earlier, you mentioned histamine.
Mm-hmm.
Fermented foods like kombucha and kefirs and cheeses and any fermented foods, sauerkrauts, kimchis, they are higher in histamines. So they can really set off a histamine intolerance or mast cell activation syndrome, MCAS issues, very much so. So it's a wonderful food medicine for some people, and then it can flare other people up. So yeah, the context matters there.
Well, now that I'm off PPIs, I'm back on kombucha and very happy.
Love it. Yeah. Hey, I love kombuchas, but yeah, we have some people limit it for sure.
Yeah, no, totally. Let's talk about midlife weight gain all around our middles, our poor bellies. What's happening?
Okay, so then subdiagnostic and diagnostic, my mind go to, okay, hormones need to be looked at without a doubt. But top of my list, depending on the study that you cite, there's a UNC study, it says upwards of 93% of the United States has a massive blood sugar problem. They are not insulin sensitive. That's 7% of our beautiful country is metabolically healthy.
Wow,
Common,
really?
not normal. So that's by UNC, like conventional standards. I mean, it's like, not right. Those are based on conventional reference ranges. So even if you have more conservative estimates, it's a lot of people. And it's a spectrum between mild issues to more severe. But what's going on there? Insulin is high or higher than it should be. Hyperinsulinemia, too much insulin in the blood. Insulin is a fat storing hormone. That is going to cause a cascade or ripple effect of a lot of different things around the body. if you have trouble losing weight loss resistance, we have to get blood sugar under control. And what the heck does that even mean? We have to deal with insulin because insulin's not getting in. It's a cellular membrane issue. The insulin receptor sites aren't able to grab insulin the way it was designed and created to get blood sugar down because you need insulin on the cell, insulin sensitivity to get glucose or blood sugar inside your cells and out of your bloodstream. So we have optimal insulin levels, optimal blood sugar levels. You're off of that blood sugar roller coaster, and which is so much more than stubborn weight gain. It's the hangriness, it's insatiable cravings, it's mood swings, it's brain fog, it's fatigue. These are the hallmark signs that you're on quite the ride on the blood sugar roller coaster. And the beautiful thing is these are largely overcomable, healable, reversible. You can do something about it, but you have to do something different to see something different. So that's the top of my list. But then you have to look at thyroid hormones. People, I mean, you know this, but people are just running these basic thyroid panels, like just TSH. They need to do a full thyroid panel now. If you've not had this done, I recommend everyone to get this test. Yeah, we can run it for you, or you can go to somebody else. But TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, it's a pituitary hormone. Okay, it's needed. But we want total T3, total T4, free T3, free T4, thyroid antibodies, TPO and TGA, and something called reverse T3, or the braking system of the thyroid. If you're not looking at all that and you're just looking at TSH and maybe T4, you are looking at two pieces of like a 10-piece puzzle. And then saying, yeah, I know what the picture looks like. No, you don't. Until you look at all that stuff, you won't know. And it's typically not ran in mainstream medicine, that whole panel, because they're trained, back to something I said earlier, diagnose the disease, match it with a medication. So all they need to give that medication is TSH and T4. So it's superfluous. It's like, why would I run this? Why would I run these extra tests in the conventional model if the end result's still going to be the same medication? We have to look at that full panel to really understand the context of it. And the leading cause of low thyroid function in the West is autoimmune. It's Hashimoto's disease.
Mm-hmm.
So the TPO and TGA need to be looked at. That's when the immune system's attacking the thyroid.
I did a full panel with Function Health, and my TPO's off the charts. But all my thyroid level is fine. So I know I'm in the early stages. And it's great because I can keep my eye on it. I did get a referral to an endocrinologist. I don't know if anything's going to happen, but it's giving me the information to go, hey, I see that this is coming. My body is attacking my thyroid. I don't feel the results yet, but let's get ahead of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on that spectrum that I talked about earlier. For autoimmunity, there's three. There's silent autoimmunity, meaning if you ran labs, you'd see something positive, but the person feels fine.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 2 is autoimmune reactivity. You have positive labs and you have symptoms. And then stage 3 is the autoimmune disease, meaning you're checking all the boxes, TPO and TGA, and you have low thyroid hormones in this circumstance. But it's conventionally being diagnosed. Again, taken years to get there for most people. So yeah, you're seeing it somewhere on that phase 1 or phase 2 to be proactive and not reactive, which is a place of grace, right? It's like, okay, not to put fear in anybody, or we're not looking for problems where there aren't any. We're just having a governance on like, okay, this is something I can do something about it now. Like, why is the immune system attacking the thyroid? There's an answer for that. And that's, again, where health history and other labs can illuminate the context of that.
Now, in my mind, this is gut microbiome related. With my gut being so unhealthy, it probably put me at risk for this happening.
Yeah, it is for a lot of people, especially with what I'm hearing about your case with the sort of the SIBO acid reflux. There's a very high correlation between SIBO cases and Hashimoto's or autoimmune thyroid type cases. There's almost 100% overlap between those two things, the SIBO, the digestive problems, and Hashimoto's, with something called MTHFR gene variants.
I have it.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, you called it.
yeah, I nailed it. But that's not the totality of it, right? Many people have.
Yeah.
It's the perfect storm of genetics and epigenetics. Back to that thing I said earlier, this mismatch between genetics and epigenetics. So it's the perfect storm. It's this plus this plus this plus this can trigger it. So yes, the gut's implicated in that. Certainly should be. We have to look at leaky gut syndrome, bacterial overgrowth, because what is that? You mentioned leaky gut syndrome. If things are passing through the gut that should not be able to pass through the gut, like undigested food proteins, which can trigger food sensitivities, and bacterial toxins called lipopolysaccharides, the immune system says, whoa, hold on a minute. Why is there undigested food proteins and bacterial toxins in the bloodstream? And the body does the way it was supposed to, it was created to protect us. So it's tagging these food proteins and bacterial toxins with antibodies or flags for destruction. And then the thyroid, this is the theory of it in science. The thyroid is similar enough in structure to the bacterial in the food that it then cross-reacts against the thyroid. Another theory or a thing that's being explored within science is, are things like viruses or pathogens actually in the thyroid and the immune system sees it and starts attacking it? It's immune mediated. Regardless, the gut's implicated in some piece, some component, but it doesn't mean it's the only piece of the puzzle, but it certainly is a big piece of the puzzle and needs to be looked at. And again, health history labs will illuminate the gut plus any other components to what we need to be supporting here.
Oh, okay. This is a masterclass on health. Thank you so much. We talked a little bit about supplements. Even without labs, would you say there are 3 to 5 supplements that every woman should think about being on, like an omega-3, things like that?
Well, first and foremost, this is the truth. You cannot supplement your way out of a poor diet. You have to start with food. I know you want everyone, we're all humans. We all want let's just give me the pill. Just give me this, right? This thing, the simple one thing. The simple one thing is focusing on nutrient density with foods and then focusing on gut health so you can absorb, because we aren't just what we eat. We aren't just what we supplement. We are what we absorb. And if your gut's not where we need to be, doesn't mean it needs to be perfect. You're on a journey. Healing is non-linear. So give yourself grace, give this process grace, but we have to work on supporting gut health. So over time, we can enhance the body's ability to extract the vitamins and minerals, nutrients from our foods and supplementation. But focusing on nutrient density of foods, back to what I was saying earlier about food, okay? Let your meals be your multivitamin. Your food is your medicine. From there, targeted supplementation, even for the best eater out there, is going to be needed for most people. Back to the soil microbiome, the nutrient density of our food. It's just not what it once was in this fallen world we live in. So number one is going to be magnesium, which I mentioned. Most people are deficient in magnesium RBC tests. So supplementing with magnesium. I take 2 different ones, actually. I like a magnesium threonate, which passes through the blood-brain barrier. It's called the magnesium from the My Art of Being Well supplement line. And then Longevity RX, I just came out with a whole longevity line. It's called Mag 18. And it's 18 different forms of magnesium, peptide bound. So it's highly bioavailable. It's whole food sourced. And it's paired with a vitamin D3 K2, which makes it convenient. Mag 18, which is another thing that pretty much everybody, unless you're walking around in a loincloth in Miami, like, I mean, if that's you, more power to you. But most people aren't. And even those people that are in loincloths in Miami, because some of them are my telehealth patients, they're still low in vitamin D, shockingly, because there's a larger context to that, because maybe they're using too much sunscreen. Maybe they really aren't out that much. But the other thing is, like, the body's expenditure of vitamin D more than the intake. Back to this sort of environmental toxin piece and stress piece and trauma piece. There's a high demand for nutrients in the body when the body's trying to maintain homeostasis. So I find people that are eating well, supplementing, sometimes have to dose a bit higher, because we live in this modern world where the body's like, okay, we're spending a lot. We need more intake, because just to maintain normal human function. So like the debt to income ratio is off. B vitamins, I mentioned methylated B vitamins, top of my list. I would recommend everybody, if you have access to it, to run homocysteine, this inflammatory marker. We want it under 7 in functional medicine. If your homocysteine is higher, there's studies that show it increases neuroinflammation. As you talked about leaky gut syndrome, there's something called leaky brain syndrome, which is an unfortunate term. I didn't come up with it.
It is
So
unfortunate.
yeah, but things are passing through the blood-brain barrier, which can trigger neuroinflammation, just as the gut issues. The gut's the second brain, which you know, but it's formed from the same fetal tissue. So when babies are growing in their mother's womb, they're formed from the same fetal tissue, and they're inextricably linked through the rest of our life through what's called the gut-brain axis. And back to the serotonin, dopamine, all of that stuff. So what happens in the gut can impact the brain and vice versa. Methylated B vitamins, profoundly important. That's like the core things that I would say, which isn't that much. And then you can fill in the gaps based on goals, based on needs. Maybe it's, more inflammation support, like a curcumin for one person. Maybe it's more stress, hormonal problems, and you would do more adaptogens like ashwagandha or lion's mane or holy basil. Those are, I would say, more condition specific supportive tools. They're not foundational tools. One other thing I will say, because of gut issues, that most people will benefit from is getting a good spore-based probiotic because of all the gut issues out there, because of all the digestive problems. I take one, it's called Probiotic Trillion, which I'm super excited about. It's like the first 1 trillion whole colony forming units of prebiotics, probiotics, parabiotics, which we can talk about, and postbiotics, which is so much exciting science around postbiotics. So I take it just 1 capsule a day, but if you don't do Probiotic Trillion, do any quality spore-based probiotic really can be a great tool.
Okay, that is really super helpful. Last question. If a woman was just going to start with 3 little changes that she could make to start feeling better, what would those little changes be?
Can I give some bonus answers too?
Yes, you can give all the answers.
I'm going to be really quick about it though, because I could go on and on. But I would say decreasing the inflammatory core 4
Mm.
is number 1, and I'm just want to make it 1. So that's why I'm
Yeah,
cheap.
go for it. Okay.
So and look, there's context and nuance to all this stuff. God made all this stuff, so I'm not making broad sweeping statements. But gluten containing grains, it's what we've done to it, not the grain. We've hybridized it and sprayed it with stuff. But look at gluten, because it's not what it was in biblical times. Like the einkorn, ancient grains, is not what people are consuming. So back to that mismatch again. So gluten, it's the protein in wheat, rye, barley, spelt, and cross-contaminated in oats. Looking at number 2 would be dairy. Again, God made dairy. It's not the dairy. It's what we've done to the poor cow. We've hybridized, we've crossbred cows. Most of it's A1 protein dairy, not A2 protein, which is the OG dairy protein. So again, mismatch. It's triggering all these gene predispositions that have been there forever. So there are better, I guess my point here is there's better for you versions of all this stuff. So you can get like an A2 fermented, which breaks down the casein, like yogurt or kefir or cheese. It's way different than the homogenized, pasteurized A1 grain-fed, not grass-fed milk. So that's why there's a spectrum even in these conversations. There's like good, better, best, or worse, better. You know what I'm talking about. It's not black or white. So dairy. Third would be added sugar, which doesn't need that large of a conversation around it. Most people know humans did not consume as much sugar like in years, decades, and we're consuming it in like a month. It's insane. So even the sneaky sounding euphemisms, the greenwashing between like becoming label literate is profoundly important because it's hidden in a lot of different things. And something can be labeled as like agave nectar and it sounds so natural, but it's still sugar without fiber, which helps to balance the whole like blood sugar spikes. So look at the grams of added sugar, no matter what the form is. Be mindful of that. And then fourth would be industrial seed oils, which is a little bit more controversial. You're going to find different opinions on this topic. But I think the truth is oftentimes somewhere in the middle. You have two sides of the sort of warring conversation within nutrition. One side is it's seed oils like canola, vegetable oil, soybean oil they're heart healthy. You know, you just like bathe in canola oil, and that's the sort of the orthodox opinion. And the other side is like, don't even look at canola oil or you'll blow up. That's sort of the fear mongering position. The truth is in the middle. And the overconsumption of these foods, specifically ultra processed foods, which is implicated in it, it's high in omega-6 and a low in omega-3s. That's not the way that God created this. Nature tells us we need higher omega-3, lower omega-6. The ratio of these polyunsaturated fatty acids matter. And the modern Western diet is really out of proportion, back to that mismatch. So increasing omega-3s, lowering omega-6, it's really high in these industrial seed oils. And beyond the omega-3, 6 ratios, they're highly processed, they're oxidized, they're very sensitive to light and heat. So like just eat less of them. Now there's better for you versions of that too, like an organic cold pressed sunflower oil is going to be way different than an oxidized canola oil, but I would just decrease that. So that's the inflammatory core 4. If I could add a +1, it's alcohol. Like please, like there's no healthy amount of alcohol. The healthiest amount of alcohol is none. Don't kid yourself. And don't bring up the resveratrol to me because there's better ways of having resveratrol without neurotoxins involved. So that's like research funded largely by the alcohol industry, which God bless them, they tried. But we know better now. Just get those out of your life, or at least find better for you versions of what I just said. And then number two, look at what you're consuming on a daily basis. Like, have better boundaries with technology. Have better boundaries with the company you keep, because that's important. I mean, that's food for your biochemistry just as much as food. So, that's more complex, but like maybe downtime from your phone, getting out in nature, remember what matters in life, like go pick up some heavy things, like sweat, like get into real life. If you ever saw the Pixar film WALL-E, I think WALL-E was pretty prophetic as far as like the future of humanity. It was made 20 years ago, and now people are just staring at screens and staring at two screens at the same time and not talking to humans. Like, get out in nature. Like the Japanese and South Korea research looking at Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, it's getting out in nature. Our ancestors did not need randomized control trials to know what intuitively we all know, that being in God's creation is healing, but it's using nature as a medicine and meditation. So that would be number two. And then third, I would say having a gratitude practice. Journaling, I would say, is profoundly important. A lot of people have stress and trauma in their body, as I mentioned. So really, we call it ugly journaling for telehealth patients. Like writing out every day 20 minutes, not typing on your phone, writing out with pen to paper or pencil to paper. A good prompt is, what does it feel like to be me today? And then free form, write out 20 minutes. Your hands are going to cramp. You're not going to like it. You're going to be annoyed, but stay consistent with the practice, because you're metabolizing stress and trauma in your body just as you would environmental toxins or something on a physical level. So our telehealth patients that are consistent with all three of those practices, really their body can be more in alignment the way it was created to.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, like I said, this is a masterclass in health. Thank you so much. Tell everyone where they can connect with you and learn more.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. They can learn more about all the work that we do at drwillcole.com. That's drwillcole.com. My podcast is called The Art of Being Well. The books, all the things I talked about on today's episode, and the telehealth clinic, it's all there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. I've learned so much. I'm sure we all have.
Thanks, Allie.
How great was that? This really was a masterclass in health. This is one of those episodes that I know I'm going to revisit over and over again. I'm going to use this conversation as fodder for the new book I'm working on. Absolutely. This is fantastic. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being with me on this journey as you're working on your health, as I'm working on our health, because we don't have to be victims to this. This is something, like Dr. Cole said, we have agency over. We can do something about. We don't have to suffer. So thank you for investing in you. Thank you for investing in your physical health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health every week, because it doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone in your life. I know about your life. I know what kind of woman you are, because you are here, you're learning and you're growing and you're building a healthier, stronger life one step at a time. I want to remind you, you're stronger than you think. You're smarter than you give yourself credit for, and you're braver than you feel in the hard moments. The best part is you are just getting started. You are capable of incredible things because the Spirit of God lives in you. And I know the dreams that are in your heart aren't there by accident. God placed them there, and He's giving you everything you need to live them out. It's my joy to get to coach you and cheer you on and remind you that with God, you have what it takes. So keep stepping up, keep showing up, keep loving well, because you know the truth. You can't break a woman who gets her strength from God. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon. And that's it. Cut. We're out. We're really out this time.